Hey everyone, this is Brett and I thank you for stopping by my YouTube channel today. Today we're going to talk about cruise lines. I'll speak to you briefly about some of the more popular cruise lines, some of the things that make them popular, and some of the things that you may not enjoy. But more specifically, we're only going to be talking about Florida departures on the cruise lines that work in Florida. And I'll start off with Carnival. The things I like about Carnival: the affordability. They are usually the most affordable price point when it comes to cruising. They have plenty of choices. They have something like 26 ships and some more on the way. Their ships are everywhere, trying to compete with Royal for the most ships. Besides Florida, you can find departure points for them throughout the U.S. They schedule 3 nights, 4 nights, all the way up to 16 nights. They offer itineraries to fit your time frame and budget. Sizes: most of the cruise ship sizes, most of the ships are considered smaller for today's mega class standard. As for their entertainment, I personally think they lack the entertainment department myself when it comes to production shows. It's not to say that performers aren't talented, quite the opposite. To me, it just doesn't seem like Carnival is staying up, whether this is on purpose or not, with the competition. They do have one thing covered though, and that's fun. If you're looking for the party, you'll find it here. Just book a 3 or 4 nighter and hang on. Whether it be the Lido, the hot tubs, or the casino, the drinks will be flowing and most will be dancing. Now, if we're looking for dining options on Carnival, me personally, I like the tacos on Lido and Guy's Burger Joint, which you can also find on Lido deck. They're usually on just opposite sides of each other. To me, they're top notch, especially for the Carnival price point. I also enjoy the barbecue they do on some of the ships, and most times, I'm not sure that's changed. I haven't been on them in a year or two, but most times they do have a barbecue joint on some of the ships on a lower level, and it's usually only open on sea days. But speaking of the main dining room, I miss the tablecloths. That's a big deal to me. I think they cut the wrong corners in doing this and trying to save a couple of cents here and there. Again, it's just my opinion. As with most cruise lines, nightly dishes usually blend with the local ports, and you usually have an option to choose from 5 to 8 or 9 different main dishes. That's a good thing. If you're liking specialty dining, like most cruise line, Carnival's trying to force your hand at going to the pay restaurants if you want to be treated like royalty. Depending on the ship, there's quite the variety to choose from. Drink packages. All purchased beverages usually include a tip. Be mindful of that. Some people don't. They tip additional when it may or may not be necessary. It's completely up to you how much you tip, but just keep in mind a lot of times it's included. The prices are about average for the cruise industry. Beers range from $6 and change up. Cocktails around $10. If you drink a few a day, buy the package. Keep in mind, 15 is generally the limit per day on Carnival. That is unless you are in the casino. Hint, hint. Private islands. If we're just talking about the basics, or the original private island concepts before we started putting the water slides in, the balloon lifts, and the zip lines, Half Moon Cay was the absolute best. It was pristine, crescent shaped. It was an absolutely beautiful place. By far, to me, it's still the best private island, regardless of what they put on the other private islands. They also have Amber Cove and Mahogany Bay. Again, both nice, but not Half Moon Cay. As for embarkation ports, as I stated earlier, they're everywhere in Florida. There's 5 ports they go out of. They go out of Miami, Port Canaveral, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, and Jacksonville. Plus, they have about 17 options throughout the United States. Moving on from Carnival, we'll talk about Norwegian briefly. I will say I had a bit of a falling out a few years back on Norwegian and their casino staff. Not the staff on board, but when it comes to perks and stuff, I am offered a lot of perks on different cruise lines, and Norwegian didn't want to match it. So I haven't cruised them in a few years, but in any event, I do have some knowledge on them because I have cruised them in the past. As for affordability, they have a price point that is similar to Carnival's, with some of their itineraries including a beverage package. Just keep that in mind. I know the Norwegian Sky out of Miami, it's an older and a smaller ship, and it usually just does itineraries to the Bahamas. That does include your beverage package with that particular rate when you find them online. Generally, their ships are a lot more limited. They do only have a fraction of the market. You'll find no problem finding them out of Florida, though. They do 3 nights, 4 nights transatlantics, Hawaiian Island cruises, 7 nights out of Tampa. You have no problem finding 7 nights out of Port Canaveral, Miami, and Tampa. They offer itineraries similar to Carnival that'll fit your time frame and your budget. As for the size of ships, most of those ships are average in size, with 6 of them being considered mega ships as of this particular video. But they do have some of the largest ships at sea now, and to me they're a bit ugly. Entertainment, I can't personally speak for their shows nowadays, but I do know they have upped their game in the last dozen years or so. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, I had a bit of a disagreement with their casino department years ago and swore them off. But hey, never say never. You never know. If you're looking for fun on Norwegian, you'll find it here. I've got plenty of stories from years ago. Just like Carnival, book a 3 or 4 nighter and hang on. Whether it be the Lido, the Hot Tubs Casino, the drinks will be flowing and most will be dancing. Dining, the only thing I say here is that I can remember them starting the freestyle dining years ago. Specialty dining, they were among the first, if not the first, to introduce it. I remember they used to have a hibachi restaurant on one of them. I don't know if it was Legend or whatever the ship may have been, but it was like $5, and now you can't touch anything for $5 anymore on a cruise ship. I don't think you can get a postcard. They do have plenty of variety, though, in their specialty restaurants and dining. The drink packages is kind of sort of the same lines of Carnival. You're not limited the amount of alcohol like you are in Carnival. You pay a hefty amount for the packages if you want them. And like I said, I don't. My knowledge is not quite there as much as it used to be. But these cruise lines are just getting pretty expensive when it comes to the actual beverage packages and what makes them the most profitable at the end of the day. They do have a couple private islands. I have been to Great Stirrup Cay or Key, however you want to pronounce it. I do have a book out, and you may read a tale or two about me and my wife in Great Stirrup Cay. They also have Harvest Cay in Belize, but like I said before, I've never been there. Embarkation ports in Florida, they have Tampa, Port Canaveral, and Miami, and they have about a dozen or so ports throughout the United States that they use. Next line I'll talk about is MSC, and I will say I'm a little partial to MSC. The one thing I do like about MSC is they're still trying, after about 10 years or so, still trying to, probably about a dozen years now, but bring the European flair of a cruise line to the U.S. market. Price points, to me, in my opinion, are terrific. In general, a lot of the times you can get a balcony that may include either the drinks and Wi-Fi or both. You just have to be mindful and pay attention to their sales they offer. Their sales are a little bit different, and they're actually sales when they actually do advertise them. Where some of the other cruise lines, it's just a marketing ploy and they move some numbers around. But with MSC, they do generally offer some very good sales. At most, right now, I'll say most of their business is out of Miami, and I do know they have a couple itineraries that have left New York City recently. Again, most of their markets in Miami, their ships tend to leave port later because they're late. A lot of the European passengers are still flying in. They'll fly in the day of. Generally, you'll see departure times where most ships will do 4 to 5 o'clock. This might be anywhere between 6 and 8 o'clock p.m. As of right now, most of the MSC ships do 7-day itineraries. I know they tested either the Vina or the Seaside for a couple 3 and 4 nighters. I don't know if they just did that because the Vina was relocating to Europe. So I'm not sure if they were just trying to break it up and test it out, or whether or not they'll be more of a long-term thing. But I'm sure they will try to compete with the 3 and 4 night crowd as well. And for MSC, I've sailed with them enough to be their black status, which is their top tier when it comes to loyalty status or loyalty clubs. Their ships come in all sizes, newer ships holding roughly 5,000 passengers. And what I'll tell you is that most of their ships, and this is just my opinion, on a side note, if I could use those ships with the celebrity crew, I think I'd have the ideal cruise line experience. And for the longest time, I considered MSC to have the best theater production shows. I compared them to being on Broadway when I grew up north and going on Broadway shows. Nowadays, and I'd probably say the last 5 years, Royal Caribbean is definitely catching up to them. I don't know about Norwegian. I know Carnival's not, but Norwegian is definitely stepping their game up as well as Royal Caribbean when it comes to competition and really getting some very talented individuals to be in their production shows, and with Royal Caribbean, obviously with their aqua shows as well. Speaking in regards to fun, as with any cruise line, you bring the fun or join a group that knows how to throw down. Most of these cruises are packed with Europeans on a holiday. To me, it's a good thing, as I love to learn about different cultures and countries. Sometimes that doesn't blend so well with either the Americans who haven't traveled frequently or far, and sometimes it's easy to have a conversation with somebody that has a European background, sometimes not so much. I mean, it is. I will tell you, if you're on MSC, you better like soccer, aka football. The buffets, the dining options on MSC are plenty. Buffets are about the same as you would expect on Royal Caribbean or Celebrity. I think they're a little higher up than, say, Carnival and Norwegian. You may find some questionable items that you've never tried before. I would just tell you, if it looks good, eat it. Specialty dining, by far, and this is my opinion, and my opinion only, they have the best specialty dining at sea. I don't think there's any question here. In my opinion, they have the best choices for specialty dining. Regarding their drink packages, whether it be a beer, a cappuccino, a regular coffee, a mixed drink, overall they're going to be the least expensive of the cruise brands that I've mentioned so far, and that even includes if you buy one of their drink packages. It's just going to be a considerable amount lower than any of the other cruise lines. They do have a private island coming in November of this year, November 2019. I do believe it's supposed to be the best one out there, but obviously we'll have to do the wait and see approach and see how things turn out. Embarkation points, like I mentioned earlier, are Miami and occasionally out of New York City. All right, I've left what I consider the best of the mainstream cruise lines for last, and this goes for Celebrity, but I'll talk about Royal Caribbean Cruise Line. I do have my status is almost to Diamond Plus, and so I do have quite a bit more status on this particular cruise line that offers more perks, and even the perks are better than even MSC. So affordability, though, when it comes to Royal Caribbean, they're generally the most expensive out of the Norwegian, the Carnival, the NCL, the MSC. They're just more expensive. I don't know why. They're more expensive Celebrity, which really stumps me. There's plenty to choose from when it comes to Royal Caribbean. They have plenty of ports. They go out of Tampa, they go out of Port Canaveral, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and Florida, and then they have plenty of ports throughout the United States. It's very similar to Carnival. They have similar capacities in Carnival and with Carnival, I should say, and they have approximately the same number of ships, with both of them competing to build new ships and come out faster and better and bigger with, water slides and roller coasters and sky rods, stuff like that. Schedules, again, 3-4 nighters, easy to do. Transatlantics, you want them, they're going to be there for you. When it comes to size of the ships on Royal Caribbean, I've sailed with them enough to have a pretty good idea of what to expect when I do board them now. And they do come in all sizes. Newer ships are holding roughly 6,000 passengers. If you add crew in there, you might be looking at 8,000 or 9,000 total people on some of these vessels that are out there. They offer something for everyone, just like all the other cruise lines, whether it be entertainment for children or entertainment for adults. You're going to find plenty on not just Royal Caribbean. You'll find it throughout the fleet of different cruise lines. And like I stated earlier, I considered MSC for the longest time the best there was in production shows, but not so much anymore. From Royal Caribbean's Aqua shows to Cirque du Soleil and full performances of famous Broadway productions. I know they were doing Grease for a while. They did Cats for a while. That might still be going on. But overall, over the last number of years, they've come a long way. One thing I like about Royal Caribbean, to me, is it's actually fun. I meet a ton of people that I come to know and will return to the cruise to book a cruise again that I know somebody may be on, and vice versa, just so I get to hang out with those people again. And you probably heard this before. Most people that cruise with Royal are loyal to Royal. Me personally, I'm not sure I fit that mold just yet, but having a free 3-hour happy hour every night doesn't hurt whatsoever. So if you like martinis or Chardonnay, you know where to find me. Buffets are about the same you would expect on other lines. I think they're all cost-cutting in the long run, and sometimes you see some fried chicken and you're questionable what part of the chicken it actually came from. But times have changed. Unfortunately, it's come with cruising, and they're looking at profitability. So you get us pieces of chicken that you don't know where it comes from, and they call it fried chicken. Specialty dining, you've got plenty of options again with Royal Caribbean, just like the other cruise lines. Just be prepared to pay a lot. These specialty dinings, no matter what brand of what cruise line it's on, have become anywhere between $25 and literally like $75 a meal per person just to be entitled to try them. For the most part, though, you can't go wrong in the main dining room as long as the food comes out hot and what you ordered. I'm usually never disappointed. Drink packages, I will say that Royal Caribbean is doing their best to continually increase the price of their drinks. They're really forcing your cards. Drinks on Royal Caribbean tend to be more expensive. It's just what I've noticed over the last couple of years, I've seen multiple price increases to where, you know, a mojito might be $12 to $14 now, and a couple of years ago it was $9. They're just trying to force your hand into buying the beverage package before you even step foot on the ship. They're offering a little bit discounts, you know, days before you board, to try to save you a couple dollars. But at the end of the day, they want you to buy the specialty dining. They want you to buy the photo packages. They want you to buy, you know, the drink packages. They want to know they're going to get paid. They've been working on Perfect Day at Coco Cay for better part of a year now. I mean, obviously it's been in the works for a number of years, but I was there probably 5 times last year and was able to see the progression of the actual island, the building of the pier. You know, they never had that. So it's I haven't been there yet, but I'm scheduled to go there next month. You know, there's plenty of videos on YouTube. There's people that were there the first day they were opened up and filmed everything, and you know, it's uploaded on YouTube. They also have for the most part, I like the island. It's just if you were shopping for any type of souvenirs, they have 2 separate areas. One is more run by the locals versus, you know, your typical Royal Caribbean type of small shops that you would find on an island. The locals, they harassed you in every single stall that you went, and it just felt like you were constantly being peppered. So to me, it was just a turn off, and it's like I didn't want to buy anything from them just because I didn't feel comfortable. Again, with Royal Caribbean, there are plenty of embarkation points throughout Florida and also throughout the United States, for that matter. And finally, what I'll say is I know there's plenty to speak about when it comes to regards to the cruise lines. I just hope you were able to take something out of the video that maybe you didn't know. Again, thank you. If you have any comments, please let me know. I'd be happy to hear from you. If you're interested about some of the tales I have experienced over the last 20 years, please look up Destinations Dysfunction on Amazon and have a laugh at my expense. Otherwise, thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.